Hello, and welcome to the First Christian Church of Puyallup, located in Puyallup, Washington. We thank you for showing interest in learning more about this warm and caring community, and we're glad to share information about the history, setting, and most importantly, the people of our church. We have made a habit of opening our services with an acknowledgement of the stewardship of the Coastal, Salish, and the Puyallup First Nations people, who were the first to inhabit this region and continue to be a part of our growing community. The area is full of history. In downtown Puyallup stands Meeker Mansion, built by Ezra Meeker, who traveled the Oregon Trail west with his wife and baby to find his fortune and to resettle the land in 1859. In nearby Tacoma is Fort Nesquale Living History Museum, a Hudson's Bay fort that was for a short time after the moving of the Canadian-United States border to the 49th parallel, the last remaining piece of British soil in the United States. It houses both original and reconstructed buildings and is becoming nationally known for its excellent preservation of history through its docents and volunteer reenactors. At the center of Puyallup sits the Washington State Fairgrounds, previously known as the Puyallup Fair. It started in 1903 and is currently the 10th largest state fair in the United States. The fairgrounds covers 160 acres with buildings and land. The facilities are available for rent throughout the year. Musical concerts, car shows, sporting expos, and the Victorian Country Christmas are just a few events that take place on the grounds. The Washington State Fair offers a Blue Ribbon Scholarship to students residing in Washington. The history of our church dates back to 1882, when a group of Disciples of Christ members met on the banks of the Puyallup River. In 1903, a church building was built in the downtown area. The building was eventually outgrown, and in 1960, they broke ground at the present site of 623 9th Avenue, and the first worship service to take place in the new church was on July 30th, 1961. The building and grounds are well maintained, and over the last few years have been modified to make it as energy efficient as possible. Our church is located about a half a block from the Washington State Fairgrounds and has lots of parking. In fact, parking is very important to our church, but we'll talk about that later. The town of Puyallup itself has a homey, unique feel of a small town, but it is just one of several small towns located close to each other. It also borders the city of Tacoma and is a 40-mile drive from Seattle, home of the famous Space Needle, the Seattle Mariners, and the Seattle Seahawks. It sounds busy, and it is, with access to theater, art, musical concerts, and more down-to-earth things such as hospitals, libraries, and higher education. But it is surrounded by beauty. The Puyallup Valley lies between the Cascade Mountain Range and the Puget Sound, where ferries travel back and forth and bright sailing boats take to the water on sunny days. The Puyallup area has many beautiful parks with hiking and biking trails and play areas. Drive 100 miles to the west and you reach the Pacific Ocean and long beaches. Travel 70 miles to the east and you are in the Cascade Mountain Range with its lakes, rivers, campgrounds, snow skiing, and hiking trails. A little further to the south and you enter Mount Rainier National Park. We have been blessed with a large building that we use to support our community. Groups outside our church use our building as a place for growth, healing, and self-expression. A few of the groups we host are Survivors of Suicide Loss, Narcotics Anonymous, Puyallup County Juvenile Court Aggression Replacement Training, Tushita Kadapa Buddhist Center, and Puyallup Valley Community Band. One of our biggest ministries has been the Ecumenical Freezing Nights program. When temperatures drop between the months of November and March, churches all around Puyallup open their doors to those who are without shelter. Our special guests are given a warm place they can feel safe in, so that they can enjoy a hearty meal, they can participate in fellowship with other guests and volunteers, and they get a much-needed good night's sleep. In the morning, our guests are provided a warm breakfast and are sent on their way with a sack lunch. And now on to fair parking. Every spring and fall, we use our property to provide parking to fairgoers. It is a large production made possible by a large group of volunteers. Not only is it a way to meet and share our hospitality with the community, but it is also a fundraiser for the church, raising some years between $70,000 to $90,000, 10% of which is donated to local and worldwide service organizations. We believe we are a community of faith, guided by the Holy Spirit. We are committed to following God's call to be a welcoming light in the world. Children are not only welcomed in church, but are encouraged to be active participants through dance, prayer, communion prep, assisting with the service, and so much more. We believe it is God's will to be a safe, inclusive place for all to worship, regardless of age, race, disability, gender, gender expression, national origin, or sexual orientation. Our spiritual development is guided by the idea that there is always more to learn, and that we should always be working to understand God's true intentions for us and for creation. We offer a variety of theological studies, from a traditional Sunday school to a summertime pub theology. One of our favorite forms of faith formation is our speaker series. They are presentations that range from beekeeping to ecological practices to dealing with racism and LGBTQ+ issues. In an effort to slow the spread of COVID-19, First Christian Church has suspended all in-person activities, including worship. Instead, we have come together through a variety of creative venues. The weekly worship is available online every Sunday morning. Adult studies, children moment and wonder, and evening and morning prayers are done through Zoom or other social media outlet. We have delivered special Advent and Lenten kits to congregants designed to keep us grounded on our spiritual journey. We have organized drive-through donation drop-and-go sites for the local St. Francis House and for an orphanage in Mexico we donate to regularly. On designated days, people are able to drop off hard-to-recycle items like batteries and hard plastics to be collected and properly recycled. There are many ways of being church, and right now we are choosing to love others and our community by doing all we can to keep everyone safe and healthy.